Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rhiann Edwards, a young adult paranormal and fantasy author, and today I want to talk about writing with anxiety and depression, specifically thinking about tips and hacks and how to help you succeed. So first of all, I just want to preface this by saying that these are my experiences and my thoughts living through something like anxiety and depression. Just before we get any further into it, I just want to say that I have and do suffer with anxiety, and I'm currently battling postnatal depression. I know it doesn't always seem like that, but that's the nature of depression. It's not always seen, it's not always obvious, and I have up days and I have down days, and I'm very much in that swinging part of depression right now. So before I start, if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing. I would love to have you as a viewer, and I normally talk about writing tips, hacks and open insights. I'm very honest and open and transparent, or I hope so. So please subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you as a viewer. Okay, so moving on, talking about writing with depression and anxiety. It's a tricky one, isn't it? So for me personally, I struggle with feeling like me, but writing is me. When I'm writing or doing my writing work, being that creative person, I feel most like myself, and I need that time to focus on me. So it does provide that escape for us, and we're going into these new and fantasy worlds. Well, I am as a fantasy author, so we're going into these different worlds as an author, and it does provide that escape. But it provides that escape in a way that allows us to be who we are inside. So it is important to make time for writing, especially if you're an author or a fiction author and this is your calling. You need to find that time because it helps to nurture your inner soul and who you are as a person. That's what I found, at least. So then let's go on to the next point, which is writing with depression and anxiety isn't consistent, because we cannot guarantee when you're going to feel up and when you're going to feel down. And we also have other pressures in our life. So I'm a mother of two. I've got a house to keep. I've got 2 children to make sure they're healthy and alive and well. And I've got to cook and clean and do all of those things. So, and I'm very lucky that my work is my writing, so I don't even have to think about going out to work either. Now that's a whole nother story. I'm sure if you've seen a couple of my videos or go back a couple of videos, you'll see that I actually quit my full-time day job because of lots of different things. But when you are writing with these thoughts and these feelings, it's not going to be consistent. So whilst, yes, I said that, you know, writing provides that escape and allows us to be who we are inside, but it's not always that simple. Sometimes we just can't focus on anything else. Our brains are just too chaotic, and that's fine. We need to give ourselves that grace, and that the same way that we would behave to others and give others kindness and respect, we need to give that to ourselves as well. And it's okay if you can't write one day and then the next day you need to write. That's fine. It's not going to be consistent, and that is fine. I know a lot of people talk about trying to be consistent and constant and doing a little bit day by day, and that is a perfectly valuable and reliable method to choose from. But when you're in a position that we might be, and if you're watching this then you might be struggling with anxiety or depression, it's not always that simple. Sometimes we might need a day where we write down 2,000-3,000 words, and another day where we write down nothing. And that's fine. We have to go with what our body needs, and our brains at that moment in time need to take a step back, and that's okay. But linking on to that, something small still counts as progress. So just because you're not writing doesn't mean you can't make progress. You might need to do some plotting work. Maybe you want to rework a little bit of your plot, your outline. That's fine. Maybe you've got some social media stuff to do or a blog to write. Brilliant, do that. You're still taking those small steps towards your career, towards your dreams and your goals. Just because it's a small step doesn't mean it's not a valuable step. And we need those small steps, because how do we reach the top of the mountain without taking those small steps first? So that's something that I want to say, is that quite a lot of times I feel like, oh, I haven't written as many words as I wanted to today, or I've not finished that book that I wanted to write. But when you stop and actually look at all the small steps that you've accomplished, you'll find that you've actually done quite a lot. So just because one day you only do one small thing, that is still a good day. Okay, so the small steps still count and they are still important. So again, linking on to that point is that, and this is something that I've learned through taking Sarah Cannon's HB90 course, is working out which tasks require more effort from you and which tasks require less effort from you. So this is going to be different for everybody, but there will be some tasks that you think, yeah, these are high energy creative tasks. When I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling on it, those are the tasks that I'm going to tackle. But then have a section of tasks, or at least know in your head which tasks require a little bit less effort from you, a little bit less brain power, energy, creative energy, if that's what drains your well quickly. Figure out those tasks that you can do a little bit robotically, maybe not quite have to be as with it, perhaps. So those tasks, the ones that you tackle when you're not feeling as good, and then you know if you've already got that section of tasks ready and prepared, when you are having a bad day but you still need to feel productive, and that's just like a never-ending vicious cycle, isn't it? But if you choose something from that pile of tasks that you've already worked out are things that you can do when you're not feeling as good, then you're actually still working and still tackling the overall business that you're trying to create, your writing, author, persona, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So that's something that I do. There are days when I'm not feeling as great and I pull out from those low energy tasks, those tasks that I know I can just do without too much thinking, and I can work on them. So for me, my creative energy takes up a lot of brain power. So when I'm feeling on it, I can write 2,000-3,000 words. Other times I can't, and that's too much for me. So I'll focus on my social media. I've absolutely loved doing my YouTube videos. It's a different creative output, a different creative process, but it doesn't take as much from me as my writing does. So as you can see, so I'm trying to balance the tasks. So I'm still working towards my dreams as an author. I'm still working towards my career, but I'm just picking and choosing which tasks I can tackle that day. And I think that's important for us to understand, that just because you're not writing doesn't mean that you're not an author. There are other things that we can get on with. So it's okay to switch to something a little bit less stressful for a short period of time. I say that writing's really important to us, and it is, and it feeds our souls. It does mine. But sometimes it can be a little bit too stressful. It's a little bit too over consuming. And so you need to put it to one side and focus on something else. So every now and then I'll just spend a week reading or watching a little bit more TV, because I can just separate my brain, focus on that. And actually reading and watching TV can still fuel that creative process in our brains subconsciously. What we write is a mix of what we see and read ourselves. So actually, you could maybe say that it's research. I mean, that's what I say when I'm stuck in the middle of a book and I'm putting off doing some housework. It's a research. Okay, the next thing I think is really super important, and it's to find your circle of people that you trust. I have met and fostered relationships with people online that I never thought I'd have, because I'm quite introverted in a way. I know that sounds weird, but I am. I don't like putting myself out there, she says, with a YouTube channel. But I do find it quite awkward. So by fostering these relationships online, I'm not having to be in person. I can really think about what I want to say, and it can take time to build. But now I have a group of people who I trust, who I go to with issues. I have one person that we just talk about plot lines nearly all the time and have little rants. I've got another person who we've just agreed to be critique partners with, because we've developed that trust. And I think that's so important, and these people become the people that lift you up when you're feeling down, even if they don't know it. And I had that a few days ago actually, where I was feeling very, very low. I was swinging very low, and my husband said to go take a couple of hours, and I did, and I worked on something. It wasn't writing, I was working on something else from my low energy tasks, but by working I felt more connected to me. And then I was speaking to a couple of people about books, about writing, and that actually, it just made me feel me. It grounded me to who I am, rather than feeling this like lost, isolated, alone person, which is what I was. And I can't help those feelings. I know I'm not isolated. I know I'm not alone. But it doesn't always work like that in our heads when we're in those moods. And I was swinging very, very low. And by focusing what I felt is me at my core, I was able to sort of slowly climb out of that. So find your people you trust to talk about your craft, people you trust to help be the people to lift you up when you're feeling down. That's what you need. I think that's what everybody needs. But specifically, if you are suffering with anxiety and depression, find your circle. So it's okay if you need to be somewhere else. If you need to be in your story world, it's okay. Just because you're immersing yourself into a different world doesn't necessarily mean that you're running away from real life. It just means you're giving your head a chance to escape and a chance to focus on something else and a chance to process whatever it's needing to process. Our brain is an absolutely fantastical organ. And it's crazy up there, okay? We don't even use all of our brains yet. And it can be quite scary in our own heads. So sometimes putting ourselves into our writing world, so for me, I write fantasy, that helps me to focus on something different, and it gives my brain chance to sort of like calm down, cool down, and just work through what it's needing to working through. Don't forget that anxiety and depression is not something that we choose. It's an illness. It's the way our brains are working at that moment in time, and it's not our fault. It's not your fault, okay? And that's just what you need. You wouldn't say that you don't need medication for diabetes, for instance. And it's the same sort of thing. This is our therapy. This is what's helping us. So utilize that. Don't be afraid to need to be in a different world, because we've all been there. I love being in my made-up worlds. And that's okay. That's all I want to say, is that that's okay. Okay, so here's a tip for you. Maybe some days take yourself somewhere different to write and work. Take yourself to a coffee shop, a library. Sometimes that change of scenery can just really help spark us. Now, I say that as an introverted person, the thought of packing up and going somewhere different where there are, shock horror, other people, that's quite scary, which is why taking your laptop, taking your notebook to a coffee shop or a library where you can sit on your own and not have people converse with you, that can be quite powerful, because you're getting out, and that can really help. It doesn't help when you're thinking about it. It can be quite anxiety inducing, but when you're out and you're in fresh air and you're in a different environment and you're in a different four walls, because I know that with people with anxiety and depression, from myself, I know this, it can be hard to step out of our comfort zones. So what you're doing is you're not necessarily stepping out of your comfort zone, you're just moving to another place where you can still be solitary, but you're surrounded by other people, light, air, and it can do you the world of good. But saying that, it's okay if you need to take a day in bed. I often take my laptop in bed with me when I'm editing or when I'm writing. I know it's so bad for your posture. I absolutely know that, and my bed is not comfortable. But it feels like a safe space. It feels like a hug, doesn't it? And sometimes if I don't want to be downstairs in the living room, which is where I spend most of the time when I've got the children, it's a different place. In the office is great, but you can't see the state of this office, because I am filming a section that is, sort of okay. But it's a state. This is no place for me to try and work. So what I'll probably end up doing is taking my laptop downstairs to work or going into the bed to work. And it can just feel like a safe little hug. So don't worry if there are some days where you just need to stay in bed and work. I'm not saying that's good to do all the time, because it isn't very good for our postures at all. But it is an option and it is okay. Have you noticed that everything I'm saying is okay? Whatever you need to make yourself feel better is okay. The next few tips I think are really obvious, but I think it's really important to point out. Drink, hydrate. I get headaches quite a lot with what I'm going through, and it's really important to drink and hydrate and keep yourselves healthy. Also to eat healthily when you can. Now saying that, I like to snack, and the past 2 nights I've had a massive bar of chocolate to myself. But I am trying to cook healthier meals and to eat healthier during the day, because I know that's then feeding my body the right nourishment, and that can help. Doesn't mean that if I don't need to indulge in a sweet treat or just a savoury treat, because I like treats in general, doesn't mean that I can deny myself that. I would love to lose weight, but that's not the focus right now. My brain is. And sometimes I need those indulgent treats. But I do know that feeding my body the right nutrients will help to nourish it and will help to nourish my brain. It's hard to always think like that, but I'm trying to find that balance. Okay, so the last couple of things are, again, a little bit obvious, and I think there's been a theme throughout this whole video. But give yourself permission to need time, okay? Give yourself permission to need that self-care. It's really hard, and if you're struggling with that, let me know down below, because I will advocate for you and I will make sure that you take that time, okay? We all need that time, and we need to give ourselves permission for that time to not feel guilty as well, because guilt is a big thing. Okay, but take a break. If you need to take a break, take a break. I'm not talking about an hour. You might need a day. You might need a week. But take a break and give yourself permission to give yourself that time and to give yourself that respect and kindness that you would show somebody else. It's really hard to turn that in on us, but we need to do that. So hopefully that's giving you a few ideas and a few, if nothing else, just permission to feel okay about how you're feeling. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments how you write and how you work through difficult times. I would love to know and gather some more ideas for everybody that might be looking in the comments. So thank you very much. Have a good week, and I will see you next time. Bye.